I mean, like I said, I grew up in New Jersey. They basically put you in a leopard print diaper when you're born. So I'm sorry. I'm like, everyone's like, oh, isn't leopard print out? I'm like, was it ever out? No. They're like, oh, I'm so glad it's back in. I'm like, it's never been out. I've wearing it since I was 15 years old. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's, yeah, I do scoff at that. Nothing pisses me off more than hearing age appropriate. Like, oh, she's too old to be blah, blah, blah.
Hello, you are listening to the Late Bloomer Living podcast, where we are reimagining and redefining what it means to be in midlife, where we are gathering energy, momentum, and excitement for our next chapter via candid conversations with other midlifers about their own pivots, pitfalls, and triumphs. I'm Yvonne Marchese, your host, and I'm so happy you're here. Not too long ago, I started doing Instagram Reels just as a challenge to myself. You might not believe it, but I'm a little camera shy. I know that sounds crazy if you've been listening for a while and know that I have a background as a stage actress, but whew, I will tell you now that there's a reason I didn't do much film and TV work when I was acting. For some reason, I was always uncomfortable in front of a camera. I hated having to get headshots done, and now that I'm a photographer, I can tell you I'm far more comfortable on what I call my side of the camera than I am posing in front of one. Anyway, one of the challenges of podcasting is letting people outside your circle of family and friends know that your podcast exists. So social media is an amazing tool for getting the word out, and a bunch of my podcasting friends strongly suggested that I needed to do Instagram Reels and get on video in order to help market the podcast. Well, I resisted that idea for months. So I confess, I thought Reels and TikTok style videos were for young people and maybe a little stupid. Then one fateful Friday afternoon, I got a wild hair. I thought, it might be fun to do a lip-syncing reel to a song from when I was young. Well, okay, so I plunged in before that wild hair feeling went away, and guess what? It was fun. For my first reel, I chose a very 80s song. I chose It's Friday, I'm in Love by The Cure. I mean, can you get more 80s than that? I found a filter with a pink wig that made me look a little punk so I wouldn't look like myself. And I couldn't believe how fun it was to be goofy in front of the camera. It was liberating. And I admit it, a little cringy, but it was more fun than cringy. So I decided to keep going. And then I got really into it and I started researching. I put that in quotes. And by that, I mean scrolling through Reels to see what the cool kids were doing. And, well, that's when I stumbled upon this week's guest. I fell in love with her, and I fell hard. Her name is Jen Robinson, and I have a feeling you're going to fall in love with her too. She is equal parts motivational speaker, beauty expert, style coach, and comedian. After turning 50, and being constantly discouraged by the messages projected to women over 40, Jen set her intentions towards creating social media playgrounds that celebrate women. I can't wait for you to meet her. So, without further ado, here's Jen Robinson. Hey, Jen, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm so excited too. I always like to say how I met people, and I've been watching your stuff on Instagram. I don't know, I started making reels a month and a half ago or something, and had been totally resistant to it before then because,
Yes.
In fact, 2 years ago, I was like, I don't want to go on camera. just
Same.
like since I started my podcast, like lots of stuff I've been busting through all the little things that scare me, Anyway,
Sure.
so I'm doing the reels and I'm like, well, how do you do reels? Like, how does this work? So anyway, Instagram started feeding me more reels as it is wont to do, And the next thing I know, and it knows that I'm like in all the 50 plus woman stuff, and you started popping into my feed, and I'm like, oh my goodness, she's fun. So I'm watching your reels, and I've been watching them for a while and just totally enjoying them and giggling
Oh, thanks.
and having a great time watching you. And I don't know, you posted something, what was it, a week ago? I got in touch with you,
Yeah.
something like that, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I saw it and I was like, I just have to see if she'll come on. And I don't normally do that, And so I reached out and you got right back to me, and I was like, oh my God, that was awesome. And here we are.
Here we are. You're like, I'm into relentless shamelessness. Let's get her on.
I am. That's a
No,
really
I
good way to
I
put
can
it.
totally relate. I can totally relate to the reels thing. I tell my followers now on my Instagram, it took a long time for me to get to this place. So this year it's been like accidental influencer, I'm calling it, because it started with just like a handful of women and, just posting some things. But I would do lives. I'm like, I've got to try this live thing, go on live. And I would go on live and 6 people would show up.
Right.
And it's the worst
I've only
thing because
done
there's
it
that
like
little
once.
ticker.
Yeah,
There's
I've
that
done
little
it once
ticker in
with
the corner.
and you're like, oh my God, what am I doing?
And you can see how many people are on, but then you can also see how many people are dropping out, which is the worst. So I went on one time, I was doing, like a get ready with me. I'm like, that'll be good. I'll put my makeup on. I'm really comfortable doing that. And I could talk through. And so 4 people came on. One of them was my straight male friend from high school, who I'm pretty sure did not want any tips on how to put on your eyebrows. And he gets on. I'm like, he's probably laying like, hardwood flooring in his house right now, and was like, oh, let me see what Jen's doing. And here I am, hey, Mike, I'm putting on my eyebrows. Like, I'm sure you're really. And I started to literally sweat out of my armpits, and I hung up in like 2 minutes. I was like, 5 people are on. Oh my God, now it's only 4. I'm losing them. I gotta go. Dropped out. And now I get on them, and I'm on there for an hour and a half, and it goes by in a blink. But I was the same way. I was like, oh my God, I don't know
my
if I can do
armpits are
this.
sweating just thinking about it, because
Totally.
that totally happens to me. I do these things and I get all nervous and shy and feel like an idiot, and then I'm sweating and I'm like, okay, I gotta go now. Bye.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm an only kid, and my folks were always, do, perform, be, and so I've always been like, a bit of a ham. And
Uh-huh.
so it was just very funny to me that I was like so nervous. I'm like, why am I so nervous to get on it? But it was that whole thing of not having someone to talk to, because when you only have a few people, they're not as interactive in the chat, and you don't see the other person. It's like having a Zoom call with yourself, so you're just talking, hoping something is connecting with
Right.
them.
Oh my
And if
gosh.
they're not replying, you're like, oh crap, I lost them. Oh, poop.
Okay. Oh my goodness, this is so funny. So let's back up a little bit. You mentioned
Sure.
accidental influencer. So let's back up to what you were doing before your reels started taking off and your Instagram exploded and all that stuff. Go
Yeah.
back to
So,
what started you even doing the way you're doing.
you know, it started with, just thinking I should have an Instagram account. Like that seemed like the thing to do. So I, signed myself up and came up with a little name, and I would post a few pictures. And, I've been in and out of the beauty industry for about 20 years, started behind a counter, but always been a makeup girl and a freelance makeup and things like that. And I was back in the industry again. And I had a lot of friends our age who were saying, it'd be really great if you would do some kind of YouTube channel, something, because there aren't a lot of women our age who are doing this stuff. Everyone was like 25 with perfect skin and no wrinkles, and they wanted someone who was, relatable. And so I was like, okay. And I started, just dabbling. and I wasn't doing video. I was just, I would do my makeup, what I thought was really beautiful. And I'd sit at the stupid window in my house that gets really great afternoon light, and take the perfect selfie. And I did a lot of these like still, here's my makeup look for the day. And here's what I used, and my, handful of friends, oh, it's pretty. Oh, I like that. What color is this? That was fine.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic hit. And, in looking to connect with people, I've been in sales all my life, and salespeople, we just don't know what to do with ourselves if we're not connecting with people. And so, I started joining some Facebook groups with women kind of our age and similar interests. We talk about beauty and fashion and styling, and then I started to post a few little pieces on there, and it felt a little safer to do it that way because it was like a closed group. You get to know some people, and I'm like, okay, I'll just throw some videos out to that crew. And I started to get some, oh, this is great. Well, oh, I love your energy. And oh, do you have an Instagram? Do you have an Instagram? And I went, oh, okay, maybe I should repost some of this stuff to my Instagram. And so I started to do that. And then some of those women started to follow me there. And then some of their friends started to follow me. And so like earlier this, that started last year in the spring, I started to really get into it and have some fun. And then it turned into some styling things where a girlfriend of mine saw a pair of pants. She's like, oh, how would you wear those? Do you have other ways that you would wear them? And I was like, oh, I'll pop this up as an Instagram video. Maybe that'll be fun. And that turned into just like this little following. I had a couple thousand followers, right? Most of them were friends of mine that I've known for years, and then a handful of strangers who had come along the way. And then, like you, started with this whole Reels thing. And, up until September, I had about maybe 2,000 followers. And then I got into watching the Reels and thought it would be hysterical, to do some of these because I am a ham. And I am also, radically shameless. And I was like, what, this will be really fun. And so I did one that I almost did not post because it has some language, some colorful language in it. But I'm from New Jersey and we're known for colorful language. So I was like, you know what? And the people who were following me know this about me. Like sometimes I let the F-bombs fly, and
I've been known to let an F-bomb or two fly. Yeah.
I'm from New Jersey. I mean, that's like our favorite adjective. And so I almost didn't post it because I'm like, well, what if people from my corporate job and they see me on the thing and I'm swearing, and I was like, you know what? This is me. This is my separate thing from my, I'm going to just post it. That reel went viral and got 1.3 million views.
What?
And then all of a sudden I went from, less than 3,000 followers in September. And now I'm at 35,000 a few months later.
Wow.
And it started with that reel. I picked up probably, a couple dozen thousand followers with that, and then just people started to watch my stuff more, and then Sharon Stone followed me, and my girlfriend screenshotted it. She's like, Sharon Stone is following you. Like, what? No, it's got to be like some Sharon Stone who lives in like Kansas. It can't be it's the Sharon Stone went to her thing. I'm like, it's really her page. So yeah, it just started to be funny. Like, I'm like, she found it and she's like, this is hysterical. And I'm like, oh my God, that's a riot. And then all of these little things just started to fall into place. And, I'm laughing because in my head a couple of years ago, I thought, wouldn't it be nice if I could just build a nice little following over the years? I'm 50. I turned 50 this year. And I was like, it would be really cool if I could just build this little following so that maybe when I'm ready to retire, I'm thinking that I'll have this little following and maybe I could just be like a part-time influencer for women in their 60s. And I was like, this will be fun. I'll just build this slowly. Uh-huh. And, I'm thinking I'm going to pick up a couple thousand followers a year.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, whammo. And now all of a sudden, it's like, holy crap, I really need to figure this out because now I feel, there are more people, more eyes on me, and there's more opportunities coming my way. And, I'm like, oh, this could be something. And who knows what it's going to be. But yeah, it's been fun.
So that happened in September.
Yeah.
And now we're in January. So how has anything changed in your life, like in a way that you feel like this is like a sea change other than, oh my gosh, I have all these eyes on me? Or what, anything new or anything you found out about yourself or?
Yeah, I think, um, the process has been really interesting, and it's been eye-opening in that I struggled a lot in the beginning with this whole, I think we all do it in some way, shape, or form at some point in our lives with some kind of imposter syndrome of
Mm-hmm.
feeling like, is my makeup technique good enough to be teaching people? I've never really considered myself like, oh, a stylish person, or like I've never done styling before, but people were responding to my style and they were, enjoying those things. But there was always those pieces of me like, really, who am I kidding? And especially in the springtime when I only had, maybe 1,500 followers. And every Saturday I'd turn to my husband and go, I'm going to go upstairs and film now. And he'd go, okay, great. And he's been super supportive. But there was this part of me like, really, I'm going to like give up my Saturdays every weekend to go film. Like, who am I? Like, I'm not going to be this thing. It's like you do this whole thing, right? Of like, am I for real? And thinking too, do my friends think I'm nuts? Like she's trying to be an influencer at 50. So I just, you play those tapes, and I like to consider myself a fairly confident person, but I still had those questions like, who am I kidding? And the piece, I think that the thing that has resonated with me the most, what I've learned about myself is that I'm enough just the way I am.
Mm.
And my following has let me know that I'm enough just the way I am. And the revelation came when the response from the videos where I was being silly and tripping over my own feet and swearing in the videos and talking, as if we were just girlfriends and I wasn't trying to present. And I was just having conversations with them and just being me. Those were the times when they were like, this is so much fun. It's like I'm with my best friend having coffee. I get that comment more often than not. It's like having your best mate. I hear that a lot. Like, I feel like I'm with my best mate, or we're just having coffee, or we're talking about beauty products. And I realize that I think sometimes we get in this space, especially in this world of, social media and Instagram and all of those things, of feeling like you have to be excellent, or there's a level of perfection or something that you have to be. And we forget that people follow people, and they connect with people. They don't really connect. Sure, they love the tips and tricks, absolutely, but they really connect with me first, and they like me, and then they like what I have to say about what I'm doing. And it's been eye-opening about myself to just kind of go, you know what, stop trying to make, because I'm one of those people, I want to be good at it tomorrow. So I have to get the right lights, and I have to have the right camera, and I have to do, I felt like I had to have all the gear because I saw all these other people and they have these beautiful studios, and I'm filming with my iPhone on a tripod with a window and no like fancy lights, and I'm just winging it, and they're eating it up. It's been good for me to understand that that's part of the process. You just have to be okay with just being yourself, because people connect with the authenticity first, and then the tips and the tricks, and they buy into what you're saying because they believe you. And so that part's been eye-opening for me, and it's a lesson I've learned about myself. Like, cut myself a break, and what I'm bringing to the table is enough.
That's awesome. And you seem to be having just a ton of fun with it.
It has been. It's been fun and amazing. The thing that surprised me, I think, the most is just the level of kindness. I think you get into these worlds, and people, you hear about all these keyboard warriors, just firing off crappy comments to people, and I get a few trolls here and there that say things, and I'm like, I didn't ask you for your opinion. Go away. But so many lovely, beautiful, kind, sincere. I've gotten the sweetest little notes from people talking about their kids doing these little outfit of the day dances. I have this stupid song I do sometimes when I wear the
I was
outfit
going
of the
to ask
day.
you, can you do your song?
It's so dumb. It's like, it's the outfit of the day. 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 And I just dance around my stupid room and do something dumb and make like, silly. And it just flew out of me one day, like goofing around about to film something. Normally I would get on and say, okay, here's what I'm wearing today. And here's what I got and this and that. And then that day I'm like, I'm just going to be stupid and sing a song and make them laugh. Because we were in quarantine. And I was like, this is what happens when you let an only child loose. And she's been in quarantine for months. And I'm dancing in front of the camera, like doing stupid dance moves. And I'm like, well, that was like, oh my God, that was the funny, like, that was really what started it, because I sent it to the Facebook groups I was in, I posted it to my Instagram, and everyone's like, the outfit of the day dance is now stuck in my head. Then I started getting videos of children. It's outfit of the day. Little kids, like I'm big with the elementary school kids. Like I am a hit with the elementary school set. Like they are into me. Must be like a cartoon character, because they send me videos of their little kids singing the songs, toddlers bouncing around, getting dressed with their moms, and they're singing the song, and it's the cutest thing. And but yeah, just this level of community that I did not expect, that I was really surprised by. Like you hear about it when you talk, people who have followings, like, oh, my community. And my friend had been following me for a while, and when I started to pick up a little bit, she started to see some of the comments that people would leave and how affirming they were to me and how kind they were to me. And and she said it so beautifully, and I'll never forget it. She goes, this is the difference between a following and a community. And I was like, oh, isn't that cool? And I do feel that way about them. Like they really are. Some of them I know by name. I see their handle come up and I know what their first name is, even though their handle is something completely different. I'm like, oh, there's Anita. Like I just know that's her, because we've talked now for a year plus, some of us. They're my OG followers, and I know them by name, and I do feel connected to them. And some of them have sent me little notes and little gifts and offered services to me just because they want to help me. It's amazing. And in a time when I think we've all kind of lost some faith in people, and we have those moments where we're like, oh, what is going on in the world? To see that there's still that genuine desire to connect and to support each other, it's really lovely. And that's the side benefit of this.
That makes me so happy to
awesome.
hear that.
Yeah.
That really is, that makes me really happy to hear that that's the way that's going for you. And I'm thinking about, that imposter syndrome that you were thinking about, and trying to get it all right and making sure you had the right light and all this stuff. And, I feel like one of the beautiful things to come out of the COVID shutdown and 2020 is that we all kind of had to get real there. And
yes,
what everybody's Instagram feeds were all so perfectly curated before, and I feel like we got a chance to drop that artifice a little bit and just kind of show up as ourselves. And how great that your takeaway from this is that you are enough. How amazing is that?
Yeah, just that genuine. And I agree with you, Yvonne. I think it's been I think as stressful and as trying, and it's been, there's been a lot of loss and pain and things associated with these last couple of years, but there's also been a lot of people reaching out to each other and genuinely connecting. And that's what I've been seeing a lot. There's certainly those moments of being this, doing this kind of Instagram thing that can be a little off-putting, but for the most part, it's been really just lovely. And to watch people really connect and how they're supporting each other and how they're supporting me and vice versa. It is. And it's forced us, I think, to shake off some of that and to just say to heck with it. Or, I think so many of us feel like we lost time. I lost a very good friend last year to COVID, and she was 45 and she was gone in a week. And she was one of my dearest, like my sister was in my wedding, and you grapple with this lost time concept. And I think what people have realized is that, there's nothing promised. And so maybe we love a little differently now. Maybe we reach out a little bit more, or we connect differently, or we try harder, and we make sure that we don't have that feeling of lost time. And so, yeah, I agree. I think it's been a big piece of it.
I feel like there's an opportunity here that if I hope that we can all take advantage of the opportunity that's in the middle of this to do that. And, I think about your followers feeling more like a community. One thing that's happened for me in this year is connecting with people oddly online. I made more friends in the past year and a half doing my podcast because just this connection. And what I'm finding is I also feel like there's this moment in time where women are starting to support each other more. And that to me is really exciting. And I don't know if it's because of the space I'm playing in with a bunch of other 50-something ladies who are ready to throw off the competition and whatever else we were, I would just always felt like, oh, groups of women, there's always going to be,
Yes,
the side eye and the competition and all the stuff. And I feel like less and less of that we're all starting to try to go, no, go girl, go.
Yeah. I mean, I feel the same way. I have a lot of, I call them my Insta sisters, all of these women and, younger than me, older than me, my age, and we've all connected, and we get on each other's pages, and we support each other's things, and we shout out each other's successes. And yeah, I just feel like that's the energy I want to put out in the world right now. And I feel like that's the energy that's coming back. And I think a lot of it just has to do with how we are showing up. I think it's like attracts like. And when you're putting that out into the world, like I'm supporting other women, and I'm trying to really promote women-owned businesses and women-owned brands and minority-owned brands, and giving some voice to, some of us who have felt like we've been sidelined, women our age, we're part of those groups too, of, that get kind of sidelined, and wanting to celebrate, shapes, sizes, colors, all of the things, and so it's been, I think when you put that energy out, it comes back to you. And I'm not surprised that you're feeling that too, because you're also putting that out in the world, and that you're attracting it right back into your, it bounces right back. It's a mirror. What you put out comes back.
Yeah. What an exciting time in so many ways. I mean, it's a scary time and a weird time in a lot of ways, but there's so much possibility within it too. That's, when I started doing this, I keep going back to what you said, that you realized you're enough. And I think about when I started down my little path, and I wasn't quite 50 when I started looking at what, I got up, started a morning routine. It kind of flipped everything around, did a lot of self-helpy work. And that's what got me excited about my next 20 or 30 years. And that's what got me thinking about doing a podcast and all that stuff. And a lot of what I was trying to do at that point was improve myself. There was a lot of self-improvement that I was striving for, and the more I do this and the more I go down this path, the more I'm realizing, no, I don't have to improve myself. I am enough. I'm enough. But let's dig in and see what I'm excited about. Like, it's not about improving, it's about exploring. And for me anyway.
Yes.
And I feel like that is kind of the path you're on as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree more. And I think improvement comes with the exploring. It's like once you kind of tap into the things that you really want to pursue, and when this started to really take off, and I started to get so much great feedback from women who were watching me and learning from me, and then asking questions, then it made me want to learn how to do this better. Like, okay, well, I want to learn how to edit video, and I want to learn what does this hell hashtag thing mean, and and lighting, and and how to put fun video clips together. I'm by no means some kind of expert film editor at this point, but it's improved me. I've learned things because I was inspired to learn them, because I was exploring this avenue of myself that I hadn't considered doing. And now that it's tapping into so many things that I think I'm good at. and I get so much positive feedback for it. It spurs me on, and so nights when I would spend, everyone's like, how are you doing this? Like, because I work full time. And then I do this probably 20, 30 hours a week between editing and filming and all of the things that I'm doing. Everyone's like, what? I'm like, I don't hardly watch television anymore. I sit with my husband, he'll watch TV and I'm over there looking up reels, audios, and what am I going to do? planning my content and all of that, but I am enjoying it. It's tiring for sure. I mean, I have my days where I'm like, whoo, but it's gotten me excited about it, and I've learned other things and figured out technology that I wasn't familiar with, and a lot of it was trial and error and cutting myself a break. Like, okay, well, that one, now I look at my content from a year and a half ago and I'm like, well, I'm doing much better filming now. My lighting is better and my angles are better, and I've learned, what to do with that stuff, and it's all a work in progress. But I also think that's what my following is there for. They love it. They love watching it evolve. When I took off, all these little OG gals have been with me for a year and a half. We're like, that's our girl. There she goes. We knew it was going to happen. And it was so great. It was so great to see them. Like, they were thrilled to see something like this happen for me. And so that part was really neat. And so when things are happening, I'm like, guys, I got my first paid deal. They're like, yeah, that's our girl. It's been really cute and fun.
Oh my gosh. I have a question for you. If you, like, how different are you now from, let's say this technology had been available for you in your 20s or 30s? Would you have gone this route? Is it the timing of your life, or a confluence of all these events and, 2020 and the shutdown and
that's a great question. I like to think that I have always been a fairly self-confident person. But I don't know if I would have taken those type of risks to put myself out there in this way back then. And I think getting to this age, there's something really liberating about turning 50 for me. I was really looking forward to it and embracing it. My friends are like, you're totally in. I said, you know what? I feel like there's this thing that comes with 50. I said, I feel like it's a rite of passage where you can just finally say, I have 0 F's to give anymore. Like, all my F's are expired. Like, done. And you just get, you're able to get to that place. And I think that I'm in a space in my spirit where I feel as though I'm cool with where I'm at. I'm okay with not knowing things. I was much more, I think, prideful back then, and was afraid to say I didn't know and wanted to assert myself. And I worked in a lot of industries that were male dominated. And sometimes I felt like I had to kind of assert and fake it till you make it. And don't raise your hand, say, I don't know. And now, 25 years into my career, I'm the first one in a meeting. Like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I wouldn't have done that at 30. So I think that there's this thing of getting to this place in my life where I'm thinking, I know I bring a lot of great things to the table, but I also know that I still have so much to learn. And I'm okay with showing people that I don't know, and that I'm learning, and that I need help. And I'm a very proud person, and I want to try to do things on my own, but I've gotten much more comfortable with the idea of, that's something I don't know. I'm going to ask, I'm going to just put it out there. I don't know. Will you teach me that? And so I think to answer your question, I don't know that I would have back then. I think I would have been hung up more on trying to make it perfect and trying to be, a shinier, more polished version of myself instead of my true self. And this settling in that happens at 50 of getting very comfortable in your skin and who you are and what you're all about. I think that has really contributed to the overall success of what's happened for me.
Yeah. I just hope, I'm so hopeful that in this time that younger women can see older women, because I think it's changing. I think there used to be a certain amount of invisibility that went with the turning 50, which also does give you freedom, because the invisibility, it's kind of like, what the hell? I'm invisible
Yeah.
anyway. Who cares? And
Yep.
let me just do what I want to do and do what I like. And there is such freedom with being this age. And I, I guess I should only speak for myself on this, but I still feel really good physically. I still
Yes.
feel, in fact, I feel better than I felt in my 40s because I finally am taking care of myself and exercising every
Hmm.
day. And I'm like, what? Okay, so I've got all this energy and I've got experience and I've got this and I feel like I'm just getting started, you
I
know?
get it. I get it. Yeah. I was on live yesterday and a girl popped into my comments. She said, I'm 29 years old. And she goes, and I prefer following you over the influencers my age. She said, I think you're so real and genuine. And she's like, and you really inspire me. She's like, and I hope to be as cool as you when I'm 50. And I'm like, that's so awesome.
That is
You know,
awesome.
because I think we are, I think there is this, the narrative is changing about what it means. You know, this whole thing, it cracks me up recently. I don't know if you've seen it on Instagram, everybody talking about how the Golden Girls, when they were on, they were all in their 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And they put the screenshot of the crew from the Golden Girls against the screenshot of the cast from Sex and the City. They're like, they're both the same age
Right.
on television age. And it just the visual of like what a woman in her 50s is now compared to what we thought, like someone said to me, like, you know, like our grandmas, they looked old and they were like our parents' age. And my mom doesn't look old. My
Yeah.
mom's like
It,
in her late 70s and she looks great,
yeah,
but
I'm gonna blow
it
your
was like,
mind. Somebody
yeah,
blew my mind in a clubhouse room not too long ago. They were talking about Archie Bunker and Edith, the wife,
yeah,
in her 50s at that point, and you think about like
right.
she was like, as a young person looking at her, I was like, she was old.
Yes.
And I I before I started down this little road and before I kind of had a flip, I dreaded aging. I've
Hmm.
never been afraid of dying so much. I'm kind of like, well, that's coming. Okay.
Right.
But what I am afraid of, or have been afraid of, is getting old and infirm and all the things that I thought getting old
Hmm.
meant. And I am now really kind of excited about like the next 20, like what's it gonna look like? I
Yeah.
don't know.
Hmm.
You know?
Yeah,
I'm
I feel that way too.
Yeah.
I get that. Yeah, there's just a hopefulness that I think a lot of women, um, not many women don't feel as they approach this age. You know, they feel like, oh, this is, I'm 50 and this. I'm like, yeah, I'm just getting started. Like, let's go. And I talk about this with my followers all the time. Like, I'm here to live out loud. You know, I love that quote. You know, what did I come here to do? I came to live out loud. And I think it resonates with me so much, especially as I've turned 50. Just that feeling of, hey, I don't feel the need to be quiet. You know, this whole dress your age, what the hell does that even mean?
Right?
You know, I have this conversation all the time with women. They're like, oh, I'm too old to, and then fill in the blank. You know, I'm too old to wear a mini skirt. I'm too old to wear sparkly eyeshadow. I'm too old to wear, and I'm like, mm-mm. Or we talk about trends and they're like, oh, I don't want to look trend. I'm like, you know what's trendy? What makes you feel good is what's trending. Like, do you feel good in it? Who cares? It's from 1987. Do you feel like you rock it? Then go rock it. I'm like, that's trends and all of those things. I think are just a bunch of BS to keep women second guessing themselves. And instead,
Mm-hmm.
it just embracing like, hey, this is the stuff that I feel good doing. This is the stuff I feel good wearing. I'm like, why? I go, why do you want to just take away joy? I mean, I think it's such a excuse the word, a bullshit message that we get as women that 20s and 30s, fight, 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 make your voice heard, stand out, stand up, climb the ladder, do the things, chase it down, go, 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 go. And just the volume keeps getting dialed up, dialed up. And then at 50, it's on, be quiet and stand in the background and don't talk too much and don't be so opinion. It's what? So what you're telling me is that, between the years of 25 and 50, like those are that's my sweet spot to like be all the things I could ever be. And that once I hit 50, like my voice is no longer valid. Like just when I've gotten to the point where I feel the most secure about myself and what I bring to the table, and what I bring to friendships and relationships. Just when I feel the most comfortable, that's when you're telling me to dial it down. No,
No.
not going to happen. Even more annoying.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh my gosh. And I'm thinking, you were just had me thinking about, that whole age appropriate thing. And I remember reading in your bio just how you're scoffing at it, I think was the term. And that
Yeah,
you're convinced that leopard print is indeed a neutral. Girl,
it
I am
is.
here to say yes.
I mean, like I said, I grew up in New Jersey. They basically put you in a leopard print diaper when you're bored. So I'm sorry. I'm like, everyone's like, oh, isn't leopard print out? I'm like, was it ever out? No. They're like, oh, I'm so glad it's back in. I'm like, it's never been out. I've been wearing it since I'm 15 years old. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's, yeah, I do scoff at that. Nothing pisses me off more than hearing age appropriate. Like, oh, she's too old to be blah, blah, blah. I saw a woman and I was with friends. We were in Maryland in this cute little town called St. Michael's. And there was this adorable woman. She's probably in her mid 60s. And she had a mini skirt on, bare legs, high heels, working in one of these shops. And she's walking around. She looked great. And she walked past me. She was walking out the door, and I just tapped her on the shoulder. I said, I'm going to tell you, like, you look fantastic, and you should wear short skirts for the rest of your life. I'm like, I would kill for those legs. And she was like, thank you. And you could tell she probably heard, just the opposite message from a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I said, I applaud you. I'm like, you have the legs of a 20-year-old. You should wear that for the rest. I'm like, you look fantastic. And even if you don't have the legs of a 20-year-old and you like to wear short skirts, do it. But it did. She just looked fantastic. And I'm like, we need to tell each other that stuff. I hate this idea that we're all supposed to be in a twin set in a moo by the time we hit 55.
And qualifying our compliments too, yeah, just say, you look great, right? You are rocking that.
You look just killer.
Right?
Like yes. Yeah. Like own that energy. Absolutely.
Oh
yeah. I think, there's been a lot of that. And I think we grew up in that, in a generation where I think we were encouraged to be more. I think we were probably like one of that first true generation that really embraced the working world, and you're going to go out and you're going to get like all of that stuff. And I think it's been lovely to see our generation embracing this decade, because I think we see it differently than maybe our parents' generations did. It was like, okay, well, this is when you start to dial it down and, and let everybody else shine. And yeah, I think it's such a shame, so many, we're bringing so much to the table now, and we control so much of the economy. So
right.
It's like, don't underestimate us. We have a lot of buying power too.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they're starting I'm saying the brands and such. I'm really starting to see real people in ads, like real looking people in ads, and
so great.
Hopefully more diversity, and hopefully age isn't the last ism that breaks that barrier. I'm so tired of all the anti-aging this, anti-aging that, and
Yeah, I hate that too, and I don't use it. It's like, oh, I'm like pro aging, not anti.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's so important that we paint different pictures, especially for our daughters and our sisters and our girlfriends, that we paint different pictures, and we put out different messages to young girls about. I've got girls who are talking to me about Botox at 25 years old. I'm like, don't worry about that stuff. Like, you don't need to be doing that. No one needs to do it. I mean, I do it, but if there's this idea of like, oh, I've got to just eternalize this 25-year-old look, and you couldn't pay me to go back 25 years. I'm really cool with where I'm at.
Yeah. Do you picture yourself, like, do you ever visualize yourself 20 years from now? Do you have like an image out there of what you hope it looks like?
I don't. I think, I don't know that I've ever been a person who has really gone there with, okay, this is where I want to be in 20 years, because I feel like I'm always evolving in the day to day. And I had a really great conversation with one of my best friends about this. I think it's a shame. It's this weird thing that we've put ourselves through. You always talk to, what's your 5-year plan? Where do you want to be in 5 years when you interview? And where do you want to go next? What's your next job? What's your next thing? And there's this idea that where you're at right now cannot be satisfactory to you. Like you can't just say, I'm good right here, just like this. And there's this whole thing of like this unrest that you always have to be in this space of wanting to more, and next. Like, why can't, this, where you're at now is where you wanted to be 5 years ago. And now you're here. And now you're supposed to say, well, this wasn't enough, even though this was your goal 5 years ago. And like, why can't you just say, you know what? This is the job for me. This is the job I love. And I'm okay to do this job for 20 years instead of chasing down the ladder or the rung. So I don't do a lot of projecting into the future. I think for that reason, because I like not knowing. And I like the idea of possibilities and not feeling like I've predetermined it somehow in my head. Sure, would I love to be able to, retire early from corporate America and just be an influencer? I've had that vision in my head, and maybe that'll happen someday. But I never thought that this was going to happen to me, and this has been such a cool thing. And 2 years ago, I wouldn't have imagined this.
Yeah.
And so I just hope that I'm in a place where I'm happy and I'm surrounded by the people that I love, and maybe I'm still imparting some wisdom and some joy on folks and having some fun along the way and being ridiculously, shamelessly knuckleheaded. But I think I don't spend a lot of time forecasting and trying to, because I think that's part of the fun, is turning right and not knowing what's going to be around the corner.
Yeah.
And I like that part. That sits better with me.
I love that answer. I'm trying to get there, girl. I've always, I've been like looking at that future and all that for a long time, and living into my future instead of enjoying where I'm at for so long. And so I'm going to take a page out of your book.
Just marinate in your awesomeness. Like just get good and marinated in it. Like look at how far I've come. I think it's important sometimes that we take stock on what we've done and not what we haven't and where we need to go. It's like, look at all the stuff. We had to do this thing at work this year where we had to write a letter to ourselves and kind of recap all the things that we learned or did or were proud of. And it was a really nice exercise. And I almost feel like it's something we should all do every year, like after the end of the year, instead of projecting, what am I going to do for the new year? It's a take stock of what you did and how you grew and what you accomplished in the year prior. And I think that's the thing. We're always turning the page. Like, why can't you just sit and marinate in what you've done and how far you've come and obstacles that you've overcome over time, instead of like, oh, now I'm going to turn the page on the new year and there's some new goals for me to achieve. And I think that's where people, where we get a lot of restlessness and stress, is this feeling of, oh, this is not enough. Today is not enough, and tomorrow needs to be better than today. And it keeps you too focused and doesn't allow you to just breathe and open up for some opportunity and to be in a moment and experience something fun and be open and available to it, because you're so like zeroed in on something different.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I mean, that is probably exactly what I needed to hear today.
Oh, good.
Absolutely.
That's nice to hear.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Look at you. You got a podcast. Like, I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah.
These are things that a lot of people our age don't do, that they're afraid to do. And that you should be proud of that. That should be something that you're like,
it took me 2 years to put it together. I mean, I thought about it, was in my mind for 2 years, and I was afraid, and I, had a lot of reasons for not doing it right away. And just thrilled that I finally got out of my own way.
Yeah, and there'll be people who've had this idea that you've had for 10 years and haven't done anything with it and won't.
Yeah.
And you acted. And I think that's the fun part. Sometimes you don't know what your next dream is going to be, and it kind of crops up and surprises you. Like, well, maybe I will like to do that. I didn't think about being an influencer 5 years ago, even like that was even a possibility. And now I'm going, maybe I could do that. Who knows?
Amazing. Oh my goodness. Well, where can people come and find you?
Oh, so my handle is making up for glossed time, like lip gloss, making up for glossed time. Instagram, there's a Facebook group and there's a YouTube channel, and hopefully soon to be a website, maybe a membership forum where we do virtual styling and virtual lessons and some fun stuff on the horizon. So those are my goals for the new year, to just expand on this community and give them more opportunity to connect with me and with each other.
Yeah.
So that's where you can find me.
Fantastic. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for your time and the conversation. I
Thank
knew it was going to
you.
be fun, and it just was.
Oh, good. I'm glad I didn't disappoint. Wow, this has been really great. And thank you so much for the invitation. I was thrilled to be invited. And this is my very first, appearance as a guest on a podcast. And I just want to thank you for making such a wonderful experience. It's been
Home run,
great.
lady. Home run. Man, oh man.
Hey, look at us. Look at us go. It's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, there you have it. She is so much fun to talk to. I love that she's willing to put herself out there with total abandon and is comfortable enough in her skin to do things that are silly and funny, even as her underlying mission is for nothing less than a pro-aging revolution. Her platforms promote radical self-love and encourage women of all ages to live out loud. Something stuck with me after I talked to Jen. I find it so interesting that she almost didn't post the interview that went viral for her. And it makes me wonder, have you ever held yourself back from doing something because of what other people might think? I have. I mean, what if just being yourself is good enough? What if you stop trying to improve yourself and just live out loud? If you want to know more about Jen Robinson, just go to latebloomerliving.com/podcast and click on the show notes for episode 92. Thanks so much for listening. Hey, if you had fun, please share this with someone, this episode. Let's get this pro-aging revolution moving, people. I hope you have a fantastic week. Stay safe and well. Talk soon.